Today I'm excited to show you my Apex Legends card collection. Welcome back, my legends, and today I'm gonna show you how I made the Apex Legends cards. Now this was made by Spear, so big thanks to him. So if you want to do this yourself, you can. Personally, I'll say I'll wait because this is not really the final product. If you want to play as a game, it won't work, but if you want to use this as like, you know, just to have fun and like pretend you have Apex Legends cards, then yeah, go ahead and do it. But as for now, I thought it would be a fun idea to make these cards into real life, because even though you can't really play this in the game, I think it's still a fun thing to do because there's really nothing much going on right now. So I decided, you know what, let me be insane and let me make these cards. So as you can see, these cards are made out of not paper, they're actually some kind of photo premium thing. So if you're going to do this, I would not recommend using paper because I feel like that would be a waste. Actually use like this kind of photo paper. So yeah, as you can see, this is really good paper to use. I should not say paper, I should say photo paper, and trust me, it's going to look good in the end. So right now, since it's not like the final version, I wouldn't worry about how good it looks. And also, I didn't print everything because this thing takes a lot of printing. So keep in mind, if you're going to do this, I would recommend having a lot of black ink because it does take a lot of black ink. So personally, I won't recommend doing it now. I'll recommend if Spear actually makes the final product where you can play it as a game too, because right now it doesn't have like any damages whatsoever. So it does have, you know, tacticals, passives, and ultimates, but if you want to play that game, you can't do it right now because there's no like point system. You see, there's only hashtags for points and damages. So right now, if you just want to use it as, you know, just to pretend like you have cards, it's really like from far away it looks really good, but when you zoom in, you can see some like stains. I'm not sure that's my printer or that's how they come out, but it's still like, I'll still say it's satisfying to have them in your hands and like pretend like, oh, I have a Mirage as a Apex Legends card. And yeah, so right now these are made for the back of the card. So I was wondering why these were for, but yeah. And here are the rest of the legends. So if you're interested, you have to cut out the edges. I used cheap pairs of scissors, which was a bad idea, but since I figured, you know, these are not the final version, I'm not gonna like go too perfect on these. And this is what I did with the scissors. I cut around them. So I personally will start like this and then like cut from, oh yeah, some people were going to ask me, oh, how come you didn't just double side the paper, so like, you know, print the front and the back? And I'll show you why, because there is a way where you could like, you know, print the front and then the back you can see the, you know, the abilities and all that, so it'll be ready the first try you do it. But the reason I decided not to do it is because the paper has some kind of, you know, exposed thing, like, I don't know, some kind of wording, so I didn't want to like smudge it in with the back. So I won't recommend getting this. So I'll recommend getting some other like blank piece of paper with two sides that are completely white. And yeah, so once you cut that part out, then you can start cutting, and I'll speed this process up because it takes a while. So the first thing I would say is that since this is, if you're going to use this just to pretend you have cards, I would recommend you guys not to worry about being perfect, because chances are you're not gonna cut perfectly, especially with this cheap scissors that I have. I should have used this machine where you just like, you know, you line it up, then you press down and the squares will be perfect. But you know, being me, being like, you know what, why buy this machine where I can just cut it with scissors? And again, like I said, you don't have to be perfect, even though it kind of is a little bit irritating because you're like, oh, I want this to be the best it could be. It drive you nuts. What you'll see in a while, how like I'm like, oh, it just has a little white stain and maybe I can get rid of it, but it doesn't work like that. Now right here I cut out Gibby just to show you an idea of what it's going to look like. You see the abilities, you see Gibby, I put them together, and this is how it should supposed to look like. So I used the best of glue, kindergarten glue, so my arts and crafts finally paid off after all these years. So now you just do the edges like they teach you in school, and yeah, edge 1, edge 2, edge 3, put the glue in the middle and you press it down. Make sure the front and the back are facing up because it will look weird if one side's down backwards than the other one. So just make sure you're doing that, and there you go.
The sun is shining bright on me today.
You got a Gibby card, an Apex Gibby card with a tactical passive in O2. So yeah, so this is how you make the Apex led cards if you want to. It's pretty fun. Like it's not like perfect, I understand that, but remember, here's a comparison if you want to, like, you know, make a comparison how they look like. Here's a Tops card. Yeah, this is one of my brother's Tops cards, match attack. So this is if you have, I'm pretty sure some people might have these, so if you want a comparison, here you go. If you want to compare with Gibby, so I think the Apex card is bigger than the Tops card, so actually let me put it on top of it. Yeah, the Apex is just slightly bigger. It may be, yeah, I think in general it is bigger. It's just because of my scissoring, it's not perfect. But yeah, so this is what it looks like. I personally like the Apex Legends cards, even though you can't really play it as a game right now. It looks cool and fun to have. Like, you can just pretend like this is what I was trying to do also. If you see right here, there's like 2 pieces of paper stuck together, and it honestly, when it's all done, it feels actually better than the Tops card. The Tops card feels like just pieces of plastic. This kind of feels like, from if you give this card to your friend might actually think, oh, this is actually a real card, you know, if it wasn't for the imperfections with the lines. But yeah, the rest here I'll show you me cutting the cards up, me trying to be perfect. This is what I mean. With the Lova card, I was like really like, oh, I want to be perfect, I want to cut the edges, and sometimes it'll work, but sometimes it won't work. But just because it has a tiny imperfection, you can actually make it look even worser, and that's what kind of happened with the Lova card later on. So I will recommend just leaving it alone and maybe getting something that cuts so precisely to make sure it looks good, because if you try to cut it with cheap pairs of scissors, it might actually look worse than it already is. And this is what I mean by trying to be too perfect. So right here, I didn't cut Bloodhound perfectly, so I'm like, okay, maybe I can cut this white stripe out of the card and make it look better. But since these are cheap scissors, I didn't realize that they're not gonna cut that little small edge. And what ended up happening is that the edge ended up looking janky. So I was like, oh, I should have left it alone. And so that's what's going to happen. So I'm just gonna say that hey, it's better to leave it alone. But this was, I was like, you know, being a little bit too cocky right here, because I kind of got rid of the Lova little edges, but I was like, okay, this should be no problem, and ended up ending looking bad. So then I'm like, okay, now that I got these cards cut up, I'm gonna cut out their abilities and do the same thing as what I did with Gibby. And again, there's no right way of cutting this. Like, I tried to do it like multiple ways. Like, okay, what if I cut like this? Would this be easier? And honestly, I think the first way, where I said to cut the edges, like make a square, make a rectangle basically, and then cut the inner white lines, I think that's better. I just tried this method to see if it was better or not, and honestly it was pretty much kind of harder, and it made more of a mess than if I just cut, like, you know, the outside then the inside rectangles. And so yeah, so I recommend using the first way I did it, and that way there's like less little like white stripes, because I had to cut it like three ways instead of, like, you know, just one way. And there we go. Now that I cut up all their abilities, just line up all the legends, make sure that their abilities go to them, make sure like nobody gets the wrong ability. And yeah, so Crypto's ability, where's Crypto? Wow, even in the card game he's hiding. So yeah, so here's Mirage, Caustics, Lovas, here's his decoys. Where's Bangalore's ability? And where's Crypto? Where's he hiding? Give me a second, guys, gotta find him. Oh, I found Crypto. Jeez, I don't know what he was doing, but I found him. Here's your ability, damn it. So yeah, Crypto was in hiding. Now I have to find Bangalore's ability. Here it is. Let me just cut it up real fast, and here we go. So get rid of these white stripes of paper, and yeah, and once again, once you got them all with the legend, now same thing, don't get discouraged if they don't like exactly fit perfectly. just put them together, press down, and there you go. You're going to have your very own Bloodhound card. Same thing with Bangalore. So right here you see him press down, just put the glue, press down, put them together, and leave it alone. Don't like try to do extra. I did extra on Caustic because he's my main. I'm like, okay, it has to be a little bit perfect than the other ones. Here's Crypto's card, press down on it. I did a mistake right here where I'm like, okay, maybe I can get rid of this white line, and it actually worked. I was able to get rid of the white line right there, and actually screw Lova's card over because I'm like, okay, Lova has a little white stain in her card, so let me get rid of it, and automatically I made it worse. So this is what I mean by being a perfectionist. Sometimes you make the card worse because you're like, and it was really frustrating because I'm like, oh, I should have just left it alone, but I didn't. It was one of those things of being human, like, oh, I got too greedy. And here's Mirage, and last one is Lifeline. So I decided right there, I'm like, okay, if I don't think I could do it, I'm not even gonna bother cutting them up. Alright, so we got 8 of the legends done. So now I'm gonna do is, I think I'm gonna skip the next part because it does take a while. So I'm gonna cut the rest of the legends, their abilities, and these the care package, the respawn, and also put these things that go in the back of the gun. So I want to show you the guns. So yeah, so we got almost all the guns, I think. So we got all the guns right now in the game. Okay, my legends, so this is the final product of what they would look like once you got everything cut up. You see all the 13 legends. 13? Pretty sure it was 13. So you see all the 13 legends and what they would look like, and it honestly looks really good once you like cut them out. Sure, they're not gonna be perfect, but I still like them either ways. And as you can see here, I'm gonna show you all the cards, the gun cards, and right here although I will say this is that the legendary status for the Peacekeeper, these might change in the future, so Peacekeeper might not be a future like legendary weapon. And yeah, you got the rest, the 301, you got the charge rifle, the alternator, flatline, you had longbow, G7, and yeah, so devotion, respawn beacon, and the two cards ability. So yeah, you got all the cards right here, and this is probably going to be the thumbnail right here. The ones I wasn't able to print because I ran out of black paint was the Evo shields and the shields in general. So yeah, I wasn't able to get them from level 1 to level 5, and also the med kits, phoenix kits, shields, and meds, and also Forge. No, how did I forget about Forge? No, don't worry, Forge. One day, even if I have to make a fake card, you'll be in the collection. So yeah, the last thing I will show you guys is how they look like from the front and the back, and yeah, it looks pretty good. So if you want to do this by yourself, I recommend you guys get a lot of black ink because it does take a lot of black ink, to be honest. Personally, like I said, I'll wait for the final like product where you can play it as a game, and just because I wanted to show people what it looks like in the future and the potential. Maybe, who knows, maybe Respawn will see this and be like, huh, you know what, maybe we should actually make this into a game. And yeah, so anyways, I'll see you all next time. Hope you enjoyed this video, and most importantly, Forge is alive, and don't you forget it.
The days I could still have all passed away. The curse that's inside of me cannot be changed. I'm sorry I couldn't save you then, as through the air came the dancing flames. I'll keep screaming out with an unwavering tone. I'll keep on repenting for that night so long ago. Though your hands disappear, I'll still find the place where you are.